I, Hongjun Na, who have had stage fright since I was young, will break down stage fright and use these as focal points to help you overcome stage fright. It would be easier to overcome stage fright if we know exactly what it is. The dictionary definition of it is that it is the anxiety or fear of performing in front of an audience. The sight of the audience, thinking about different contradictions and the different perspectives of different people would all make us feel wary to even go up on the stage. There are primitive reactions in our brain that try to protect our reputation because we humans think that our reputation and our safety are our number one priority. And if these priorities are threatened, then it would be very, very difficult to suppress the anxiety. One example is Charles Darwin conducting an experiment while placing his face in front of a cage containing a gigantic snake. Whenever the snake would pounce, Darwin would always grimace and jump backwards. Now let me introduce you to the two factors of stage fright, genes and stakes. First of all, genes is a factor of stage fright because some people are just genetically wired to be afraid of the stage. Now, does anyone know the Beatles? Beatles. Yes, and then there is John Lennon, a famous guitarist. As you would know, the Beatles are world stars. That means they would have performed over 1,000 times live. However, John Lennon would always throw up before going up on stage. The second factor, stakes. Stakes can massively intensify a person's fear of the stage when presenting with the business on the line or when the whole world is watching. Because even one tiny mistake can massively damage his or her reputation. One example is the eBay sellers. As they need to sell more products to gain profit and make money, one bad review will ruin their reputation, lead to no more sales, and lead to less opportunities. Rapid heartbeat, shaking or cracking voice, trembling legs, dry mouth, or perspiration are all the things we stage scaredy cats experienced. So has anyone have had the feeling of when being on stage, the cat got your tongue, or being tongue-tied? Or has anyone thought about all the worst scenarios? Because anything could go wrong, right? Your presentation might not work, the audience might not be interested, you might not be familiar about your presentation, or you might even forget your speech. So how? How can we overcome these things? I assume that there's an axiom that everybody knows. Practice makes perfect. Like me, some of you might be tired of hearing this, but I can assure you guys that it is very useful. As you practice more, the more familiar you get with your presentation, the more confident you get, and the less anxiety you would feel. Aside from preparing, you could also think about all the worst case scenarios for you to be prepared beforehand. So you won't be surprised even if these unfortunate events happen to you. As stated by Murphy's Law, if something goes wrong, everything goes wrong. As shown in the content of the box, stage fright is nothing. Now, please reflect upon that feeling you had when you slowly, nervously placed your hand inside the box. Only before the moment you had your hand inside was an unsure and intense feeling. However, realizing that there was nothing inside, it was funny, right? This is what I'm trying to convey. Stage fright, if you're confident enough, if you're familiar enough with your presentation, the time you will present will just fly by. And that short moment, that tiny moment you had before you got up on stage will just feel like nothing after all. To end this speech, one memorable quote from Jessica Kirkland is, "Burst through the stage fright, applause waits." Thank you for listening.